And welcome back to the Coach's Corner. We got Mike London, the head coach at University of Virginia. Now, like I say, I know these things, everybody wants to talk football, but I want my viewers to get to know a little bit about the coach at University of Virginia right here. Okay. And we're going to do things a little bit different here and have some fun. How did you get into coaching? Did you always want to be a coach, or was how? I know that when I was young, I always thought I was going to be a youth minister. And my wife taught me into when I was in college. She said, as much as you love sports, you could have an influence on young people through coaching. And I changed gears and was a coach, a college and high school coach for 27 years. So, but I originally set out thought I would be a youth minister and ended up being a coach. So, how did you get into coaching?
Well, my father's 30 years retired Air Force, and and he taught every sport. My brothers and my sister, we played everything: football, baseball, ran track, and I just saw the influence that he had on me and other kids on our team. Hey, your dad's cool, man. Your dad thinks a lot about me, and then I hear the parents talk about the appreciation, and so I just said, look, this is something I want to do. Every kid grows up wanting to play in the NFL, but my route was I was a free agent with the Dallas Cowboys. Got cut there, and then I always wanted to be a Secret Service agent or U.S. Marshal, so I had to become a police. I became a police officer in the city of Richmond. I did the kick down doors, run after bad guys, all that stuff. And one day, a robbery occurred, and I put myself in a situation. I was in a situation that found a life or death situation. I said, well, maybe there's another career that I think I can be really good at. And it was in coaching. And so Dal Shealy, who's a big FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athlete man, who changed my life, was a head coach at Richmond and asked me to come back and be an assistant coach there. And the rest is history. So that was back in 1988, 89. And so fast forward, and from college to the NFL, and now back here in Virginia as a head coach. That's the story.
You mentioned one thing right there that I guess hits home to me, and that's FCA. That I have worked on the state board of directors with FCA, was on there for a long time, and have done a lot of work with FCA though. And that's one thing I've admired about you being a Christian coach and your stand in your faith at Virginia, and all your coaching on that though. And you've been very active at FCA and working at Virginia and all.
Well, it's a group of men coaching, talking about coaching, and people that influence you. I remember Coach Shealy, said, hey, I want you to go to this camp, FCA campus in Black Mountain, North Carolina. Got NFL pros will be there. I'm like, all right. So I go there, and I'm walking around on grounds there, and the guys are walking around with Bibles, and they're praying. I'm like, Coach, do it to me, But before it was over, I saw the real sense of what it is to be a man to tell another man that you can love them in a way that you'll want to be their brother, and just the influence and the impact. And so from that moment on, that experience was the one that has kind of carried me, from then to where I am now. Faith, family, and football are the priorities.
And it was kind of interesting to me that when I got my first coaching job, that I'd kind of said a prayer that asking God, if you allow me to get into coaching, I will never turn down an opportunity to speak on your behalf. And I was amazed that through that, how he blessed me, that I actually got to speak on FCA programs with Bobby Bowden and Tom Osborne as a young coach, and Tom Landry. And that just blew me away, that how doors were open when you, I guess, take a leap of faith like that sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. And, after going through a tough season last year, you always try to look at yourself, and you know that I believe all of our steps are ordered, that we're put in places where you go through the valleys, but there are also mountaintop moments. And so, we're rebuilding, getting ourselves back in a position to be very competitive. We have an older team this year, and I expect a lot of production and performance. So, when you're humble, and it's better to be humble voluntarily than involuntarily. And so you go through a season that you're humbled, but then you come out of it hungry, and you're ready to move on and move forward.
It's kind of interesting, too. I was able to coach for 27 years, coach college basketball and high school and college. The football is on that, too, and all. But there came a time when God told me it's time to do something else. And that's when I got in the broadcast world right there and was doing that, though. If you were not coaching it, and you mentioned working law enforcement, though, any other things you would be interested in doing?
Well, yeah, I tell you, my daughter, who's about to go to college, about 10 years ago, I was a bone marrow donor to her, and the doctor said the odds that a parent could be a match for their own child are like 10,000 to 1, and I was the match. And so you talk about like faith is very important to me, is because of things like that you saved your daughter's life. Well, we started a foundation, Tamaro's Kids, talking about bone marrow. I became a police officer. I've done the NFL thing and done college. If I wasn't doing anything, I probably would dive 100% into the initiative of Tamaro's Kids. It was bone marrow registry drives, education, taking the message around. We do it right now. Every year there's a community service aspect that we do it on grounds in Virginia, joining other college programs around the country about having bone marrow drives. 4 of my players have been perfect matches. 2 other people that work in the administrative office have been matches. 2 students have been a match. So keep spreading the word, because if it's 10,000 to 1, you might be the one. Instead of having apathy about not doing it, not getting involved, then get involved, because you may be the one.
And well, that's great. And again, this is good, because I'm learning stuff today. This is what I want, I guess, our session. When they told me, that we had the opportunity of having the coaches, and I like this because I just got back from Birmingham and I was with the SEC, and you got 1,400 media there, and you cram everybody in a room, and you're throwing questions out. But I think this is a unique thing that the ACC does, where you get a chance to sit down, and I love talking with coaches, having been a former coach and all. What are your thoughts on some of the things that we've heard about this year, some of the issues with the playoffs? You like the playoff system that they've come up with?
Well, it is what it is right now. I was at University of Richmond in 2008. We won the national championship, and that's several teams in a playoff system. So, I see the benefit of having more teams, but as it is right now, we've gotten to the point in college football where, with 4 games, with 4 teams, you're going to settle it. So, I would say that maybe this is not the end of it. It may grow, as the voices get louder, because if you're number 5 and you're not 4, then, they may grow to 8. And if you're number 8, number 9's not happy. So we'll see how it goes, but I think it's moving in a direction about crowning a national champion, about truly playing the best that's out there.
And you can speak in voice of experience on that, having been through the process, like you said, in Virginia on that. All right, another issue that's been going on during the offseason is where there's been a lot of talk about with the stipends or trying to help compensate players and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that? Is that a good idea, bad idea, or your feelings?
Well, we all have to understand that, I know the cost of a scholarship, that there are other opportunities, whether it's Pell Grant initiatives. Now, players can also work. Before that hadn't always been the case. And so it's a fine line between making sure that, because they're competitive and they're athletes, to afford them opportunities to continue their growth. But you are in a college setting with other students that are paying their own way, and that there has to be some balance. There has to be some sort of recognition that although you are playing, we're athletes, we're student athletes, and the things that we're allowed to do now with getting them jobs. There's a new rule that now we can hire players to work our camps. So there's so many things out there that I think we can continue to look at to see if we can find ways to meet the needs and the demands, but not get into a real full scale, we're going to pay you for playing.
An idea I heard actually in Birmingham I thought was kind of neat too was the mention maybe of using some of the money to maybe some of the parents have never actually got to come to the school and see where their child goes to college. Coach Schaefer had a great idea about maybe even have an opportunity of flying the parents in for graduation when the kid graduates. So, but what do you think of ideas along those, of maybe doing things to help the parents out some too?
Well, there's a strong message for that. If you look at every college has an opportunity fund, and I believe that the opportunity fund is based on the revenues generated by basketball. Football, with the playoffs and all this other money that's been generated, could have an opportunity fund as well to do things like that, to fly parents in, to bring extra siblings, to whatever it may be. I think now, as you look at the landscape of college football, there's different talk about different things, autonomy, what levels of football are going to do this and that. But I believe, as I said, that there's a way that some of the revenue that's collected because of the playoffs and because of football, this game of football is such a strong sport, the TV money that goes along with it, that if you want to talk about student athlete, the student part of it also means there's a family that's connected to it and trying to have that family share into their success as well.
I'm a high school quarterback. Tell me why I should come to the University of Virginia and play football.
Well, first of all, if you're the profile guy of a young man that wants the best of both worlds, an education and opportunity to play in a great conference, the ACC, Virginia's been named the number 1, number 2 public university in the country for over the last 15 years. It's an outstanding university that talks about life after football, the process of that. And I believe it's great football. It's good football up and down the East Coast, and you see us expanding now, going at Pittsburgh. We have Louisville. We play Notre Dame. So it's a conference that's moving quickly and growing. It's becoming a national brand. It's been a national brand, but now it's becoming even bigger. So your family will see you play. You'll get a great education, and you'll become an educated man.
All right, tell us a little bit about your team this year, what your outlook is, and what your strong points are going to be this year.
Sure. We have 7 starters returning on offense. We have 9 returning on defense. So it's about 17 starters, about 55 lettermen returning. We are an older team this year. We have our quarterback situation is when I picked a quarterback, Grayson Lambert from Georgia, coming out of spring practice. He's one of our captains, voted second most vote getter as far as our captains are concerned. He has thrown more passes than 9 of the likely starters to be named here in the ACC. We're on the other end. A couple years ago, we had young guys hadn't played much, and they were learning baptism by fire. But we're an older team now. The quarterback that started last year, David Wofford, has over 2,000 yards passing, and he's like 3rd or 4th in the ACC. So we should be good defensively. We should be productive on offense. Special teams wise, both kickers and punters are back, so our legs are back there. Returners, and I believe that this is a production and performance year for us. So we're looking forward to competing.
Any concerns you have going into this year?
You always have the concerns as a head coach about your where you are from a health standpoint. About how you go through your early part of August practice, and you want to be tough and focused and physical, but at the same time you don't want to beat your guys up because you're getting ready for the season. Our first game, August 30th, is UCLA in Charlottesville, and from all accounts they'll probably be in the top 10 at the worst, but at least 5 at the best. And maybe I've heard one analysis out there rate them as the number 1 team in the country. So the schedule's tough, but the challenges are what we're all made of.
All right, we're going to end on another fun question right here, though. Right. So when you get to be all like me, you start looking at stuff like your bucket list. What have you got as some things, maybe your number 1 or even a couple of things you've got right now on your bucket list that you want to accomplish or do in your life?
Wow. Well, I tell you, one is a bucket list is probably more included in what my wife wants to do. She wants to go to the San Diego Zoo. She loves giraffes.
Neat.
And you look at our house, you think we were doing a segment on hoarders. We got giraffes all over the place, at the front door, back door, in the kitchen, living room. So that's one of them. And the other thing is, if it's in the man upstairs will, is I've won a 1AA national championship. I'd like to do it as a BCS coach, FCS coach. So not too many have accomplished that, and God willing, I stay in this profession long enough that maybe the opportunity might present itself.
Well, we hope that comes about for you too, Coach London.
I appreciate it.
I tell you what, we really enjoyed having you on this morning, though. It's been fun, and I've enjoyed, and I know our viewers, of getting to know the coaches. That's what we want to do, is get to know the guys. So many times there's the hustle and bustle of the games, and people don't know the people that are involved in doing though. And it's easy to sit there and fuss at the coaches and stuff like that, but I think they need to know who the men are that are leading the young men on their team, and that's what we're trying to accomplish today through our interviews. And I learned a lot about you today.
Well, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Wish you the best of luck this season.
All right, thank you.
Mike London, head coach at University of Virginia.